Wanted to show you this Bambi book that I got way back, and the story of why it's so special. I actually met Ollie Johnston in person in a supermarket back in the late 80s, and I finally got up enough courage to go up to him and talk to him and introduce myself. And I said, "You're Ollie Johnston, right?" And he said, "Yeah, but how do you know who I am?" And I said, "Well, I did meet you once back in 1982 at the shopping mall when you and Frank Thomas were doing a panel and animation get together for ASIFA, the Animation Society. And I just remembered you from all those years because I actually spoke to you guys. And I asked him that about if they were working on another book. And he said, "Yeah, we're working on a book of how we made Bambi." And I looked puzzled and I said, "Why Bambi? Why not Pinocchio?" Which at the time was my favorite Disney movie. And he said, "Because Bambi is where we, the nine old men, came into our own and cut our teeth and really showed what we could do." So a little while later, this Bambi book came out. I made sure I got it. And looking at it, you'll see such fine artwork like this. This is a concept piece looking at the forest and a little deer running through. Very abstract looking, very different looking film than Pinocchio. And when I saw the artwork for it, I had seen some artwork in the Illusion of Life book, of course, but seeing this artwork, this much of it all at one time, this is different. Here you're seeing the concept art, the visual development art of what goes into making a feature film, and a lot of the storyboard stuff, a lot of character and background layout. So the first part of the book is the story, and Bambi was a short story children's book back in the 30s. And Walt Disney bought the rights to it and had it made into a feature film, which is one of the great Disney films. These drawings here, I think, are by Milt Kahl of Thumper. And if you want to know about squash and stretch and turning a character's head and looking at it from every angle, here we're kind of seeing a 3/4 down shot of Thumper's head as he looks up that way. He turns and his head goes up. Now we're looking at a different angle of his head than that. Now he turns his head again, and it's a slightly different angle than this or this. As an animator, you have to be able to draw a character from every angle. Here's some concept art in the forest. It's Thumper talking to Bambi's mother. Thumper's mother and Thumper's siblings back here. But look at the way this art is done. This is pencil on paper. A really fine drawing here. You know exactly what's happening. You know where you're supposed to be looking. You see this of the mother deer going down like that straight into Thumper. Your eye is aimed right here. And we see some animation drawings here. I think Frank Thomas did these. He loses his balance and falls. Look at this drawing up here of Bambi following the little rabbits. And that's probably a storyboard drawing. This might be an not enhanced, but elaborate background layout, character layout drawing. And one of the paintings for the background, completely different style as depicted by Tyrus Wong, one of the great artists there at the studio. And he styled the backgrounds for this picture. Here we see some animation drawings by, I'm not sure who did these. These might be Ollie Johnston. One of the great story drawings here, where you see the characters talking. You see Thumper talking to Bambi here. And you see the color. This is a finished frame, Bambi talking to Flower, the skunk. And look at this great drawing down here. Thumper and Bambi looking at some insects and flowers down here. Background painting. More animation drawings of Bambi and Thumper. More background drawing paintings. Just a really, really wonderful movie to look at the artwork. Oh. Paintings of the meadow and drawings of the meadow. We see a background layout drawing looking across the entire meadow. Some birds coming down to land, probably picking up stuff to eat. Background paintings here and here. Totally abstracted. More drawings. This is Bambi meeting his girlfriend. I think her name is Faline. Such great artwork here. I think here she surprises him, comes out and licks his face. And here the deer and Faline are getting a little older. And here's Bambi down here. I think that's his father there. A bunch of the deer here starting to grow antlers. Look how how well they show up against the background. Just the background is so abstracted. These characters with their outlines around them show up against it really easily. Something that you think about when you're putting a picture together. How do the characters interact with the background? And if your background is one style and your characters are another, your characters will stand out against the background. So that's some of the artwork from one of the great old Disney movies. A lot of wonderful art in here. Look at this drawing. I love this. A bunch of birds flying. Big old tree gnarled up here. Rocks and more trees here. Here's another one over here. Little rodents scrambling down the branch of the tree. Here, I guess this is when the fire starts. Here, this is where the dogs are chasing Faline and Bambi has to come to the rescue. Look at these drawings. And here's the fire starting and all the animals have to run away from the fire. And now it's springtime. The forest is coming back to life after the winter. So now here we see how they made the movie. This is behind the scenes stuff. There's Walt with a couple of the deer. I think this is a Tyrus Wong painting here. Notice how different the backgrounds look in this film than they did in Snow White. So a different set of animators worked on this film than worked on Dumbo, which was a much more cartoony film. This film had to have a lot of realism in it. And so a different set of animators worked on it because they had a different set of skills. to be able to do this type of action of a deer running and jumping, landing, jumping up again, running away, that's a whole different thing than doing Donald Duck and Goofy. It's not that it's better, it's just different, and it takes a different set of eyes and a different set of skills and study to do it. Another background painting. So, very inspirational book. Highly recommended. Here we see some of the animators. Ollie Johnston, Milt Kahl, and Frank Thomas. I think the kid here might be the voice of Thumper. He's the voice of Thumper. And here we see Frank Thomas drawing a picture, doing a caricature of Marion Darlington. She did the bird whistles in the movie. Here we see an overall view map of where all the action takes place so that everybody knows what's going on when and where. And this line of action shows us this happens, this happens, this happens. Here's where it's going on. Great drawing of the dogs there. Great animator Retta Scott did most of the animation and drawings of these dogs attacking Faylene. She was the studio's first woman animator. And there's Tyrus Wong. He styled this film totally different than the other films ever done before or since at the studio. Just a whole different way of depicting backgrounds. Here's different rabbits. There's a cartoony rabbit. I think these are from Snow White, and here's Thumper. Totally different takes on rabbits. A deer from Snow White compared to Bambi. Look at the difference in the drawing style. And these animals, little cutesy animals here, are from Bambi. Different films, different styles of filmmaking require different character designs. So a really great book. If you haven't seen Bambi, you should try and see it. Some of the animation drawings. Complicated as Bambi is, notice how it starts with circle for the head, circle for the nose section, and putting guidelines in for the eyes, bisecting the head so you know the center line. Everything is based on simple shapes. Wonderful drawings of animation by the guys. So that's the book about it by Frank and Ollie, two of Disney's 9 old men, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. Then I got this book, Bambi Sketchbook. Now this is from the series, sketchbook series that Disney put out. And here we see some of the same drawings, but not all. But a lot of the animation drawings are in here. A lot of the background paintings. See the artistry of the animators here, up close in person. Every character has its own few pages section. You could learn a lot by getting any one of these books from the Disney sketchbook series. So a lot of great drawing in here. It's all all basic shapes and lines of action, just like in the Preston Blair book. Exquisite drawings. Concept drawings of the forest. I don't know how big the actual drawings are. They could be 5 by 8. They could be 8 by 11. I don't know. Great books for you to look for. If you can't get the books, I'm sure most of these have been scanned and they're online somewhere. You can find images from them online. So until next time, keep drawing, and we'll bring another book up for the next video.